Hi there, everyone. Mr. Barden here. Today I'm going to be jumping right into it. If you've been watching my videos on these topics, you may notice that this looks a little bit more like the older ones. I'm streaming it instead of pre-recording it and editing it and doing all of that. I actually spent most of the day here without any kind of power or Wi-Fi, so I'm doing this just rather quickly to kind of catch up on this because I have a lot of stuff to catch up on. It's kind of hard to work on projects when you can't turn on the computer because there's no power, and then your laptops run out of battery and also no internet and such. So I'm just getting right into it. If you have questions, check out my previous videos or feel free to put those in the comments. All right. So getting right into it, today I'm going to be talking about how to do what we've done so far, that is playing sound samples back and utilizing synthesizers in other codes and making that interactive with games. By the end of this video, I'll have put some of this functionality into an older copy of the BugSquish game. So let's get right into it. What I have here is some code from a class that I've done before, so anyone who's looking at this should look pretty familiar. Made a synthesizer. That's all right there. It's starting with the sound. It has a sequence right here. So basically, whenever it is triggered to start, it will play back the melody here in tempo. And I've got the notes it's going to play back right there. So if I wanted to change the sounds that are being played, I could change up the notes right here. I could change how they sound in the synthesizer right there, and I could change the speed by adjusting parts of the transport right here. Okay, and then I've just set it up so that way when I click and hold down the mouse, it plays the sound, and when I let it go, it stops. We should see that. A little loud. I'm gonna just do that, but notes came through, and I'm gonna just stop it right there. Okay, sounds. What I'm going to throw into this and act as kind of a review at the same time is a sample playback. So what I've added in here before we got started, I've just added a variable here. I'm calling it squish, 'cause it's going to ultimately be the sound that plays whenever the bug gets squished in our BugSquish game. And I've also got the URL for this sound effect right here as a string. So I just go into preload and say squish, the name of our variable, is going to be the it's not load sound. It's going to be a new tone dot capital P player object. And what's it going to play? It's going to play whatever sound file is inside of sound URL. So we got that there. Now all we have to do is set up a trigger to play back the sound. One thing I'm going to do before I forget is I'm going to say dot to destination. I'm not going to do any processing of this. You can if you want. I'm just showing that you can process the synthesizer sound and the file playback if you want. I'm just showing you how to stick them in there and sending them right to the speakers. So I'm just going to say right here, function key pressed. Why not? There we are. And I'm just going to say if key code is equal to 13, then I'm just going to say squish, the name of our object, dot start. So now, if I press the enter key, we should hear this sound. Might be a little quiet. I'm not picking up the computer audio directly, but the sound is playing. If you're doing this and you're running into issues, make sure that you have the dot to destination, or your audio chain of effects does indeed go to the destination and it's not broken. And also make sure that your URL for the sound is correct. Those are kind of the two most common issues for the sound not playing back correctly. Okay, so I've got all this here. Again, if you want more of an in-depth thing of how I went and built this synthesizer, check out my videos on how to do synthesizers and sequences. And that should answer your questions. Now let's put this into BugSquish. So I'm going to save this right here, and I'm going to go in, and I've got a copy of BugSquish. I made this one for an older video, loaded up right here. And I'm going to start by just moving this all into this new code here. Actually, you know what? I think it might be easier to move this into BugSquish. So instead, let's just go and duplicate this. With sound. There we go. That's what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this beginning stuff right here, and I'm going to just copy it and move it over. And notice there's two function preloads, so we don't want that. So I'm just going to copy the contents of this one and put it into here. Then we can just delete the extra copy. We have that right there. Now I'm going to copy the contents of setup. I'm going to ignore this stuff up here where I'm adjusting the canvas size and the text. That's just going to fight with what I already have. So basically just the synthesizer part and the sequencer part right there. I'll get the comments as well. Copy that. Go back into BugSquish. All right, setup. Paste this into setup. There we go. Let's go draw. I don't need anything with draw. That was just to make this look not completely boring. Let's see. And I'm actually not using my random note function that I used initially here, so we don't have to worry about that at all. Okay, so now you'll notice what we need to do is set up a way for all of this to go. And what all of this is the trigger to start and or stop the sounds. So let's look into BugSquish. All right, we need to figure out how to start and stop these things. So let's start with a synthesizer. That's kind of the easy one. It's just going to start and go. This is going to be the background music. All right, so let's say we want this to start automatically whenever the game is played. So this is the trigger to move and have the game be from the starting screen to the playing screen. And if you need a review on this, I've got a whole video of that. You can just scroll through the playlist. I've got all of my P5 PDM courses all right there. But I have one where I specifically make this code. So this is the trigger to start playing the game. And we can just say SEQ, that's the name of our sequence, dot start. And then it will automatically start. That's pretty straightforward. The other thing we have is a sound effect, and I want this sound effect to play every time I click on a bug. All right, it makes it a little more interactive, a little more useful. The game's just more exciting with very little editing. So let's scroll down. Here's where we start making the bugs. And right here is where we say what happens when we click on the bug. All right, so this is where we will also say we want to play the sound effect. So I'm just going to say, what was this? Squish dot, it's not play. Squish dot start. Should be it. Actually, I'm going to make this squish sound. Just because I use squish a fair bit, I just don't want them to fight each other. So I'm going to go way back up here. And instead of squish, this is squish sound. And instead of squish, this is squish sound. Just so things don't fight. Okay, and that's basically it. Let's run this and see what happens. I forgot an important part. All right, so what we're going to do now is go back into this code. And since the BugSquish originally did not include tone, we're just going to include tone. So I'm just going to copy this line right here, line 5, and put that into the HTML code right here. Again, replacing what's on line 5 of this one. I've got links in the description. Check out the PDM website. I go over exactly what that is. All right, so I'm back here. We've got no sound because, again, it doesn't start on the first screen. It starts when we start playing. So let's just do that. I'm going to click and let's see what pops up. We have that play there. I forgot down here I set loop to false. So let's just turn that back to true. True. So now this is going to loop over and over again, and we should hear the sound effect also when I click on the bugs. That's it. It plays, it works. It was a very simple bit of make the stuff, drop it in the code, boom, you're done. If you want to have your code change and play different melodies throughout here, you can do this in a few ways. That's how I'm going to kind of wrap this up. All right, so I've just made one sequence here, one melody. You can make different ones and then just have different sequences. You know, one starts, maybe it's only on the start screen, and then that stops and the next one starts. That's how you could, just have the melody change and adapt to different settings that way. So maybe you could have some intro music and a game over music, and the level got really hard, or in this case, you made more bugs, we're going to play this sound, whatever. You can set all of that up. So you can have that right there. Keep in mind, we didn't really get into it, but you can automate a lot of stuff with the transport function. Check out some of the reference in the Tone library that might be useful for you. Again, we didn't really get into it a lot this year, but you can play around with some of that. You can change how the synthesizers work and even have multiple synthesizers at the same time playing stuff if you want. You can load in multiple sound effects and trigger them all in different ways. Where are we at? Right there. So again, it's all just one little trigger. Start my sequence. Stop my sequence. Scrolling down here to where we're making the bugs. Play this sound. Play a different sound instead. And so on and so forth. It's very, very simple. The hard part is making it, and then you just have to tell it to play. And that's basically where I'm going to wrap this one out. Like I said, it's a fairly short little video. I'm kind of condensing it. So if anything didn't make sense or you have any kinds of questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. Put those in the comments. I'll answer those as soon as I see them. And feel free to share links to what you make. I love seeing what everyone does. So that's going to be it for me, and I'll see you all next time that I see you.